Hello you guys, tuning in today from the Airstream from Minimo, and I thought it would be fun to do a catch-up Q&A. It's been a while since I feel like I just got to chat with you guys. It is 90 degrees out. I don't have the AC on because it's loud, so upper lip sweat, it might happen a little bit. Oh, it's happening. I ask you guys on Instagram, go follow me at monicachurch, to ask me questions about being a real estate agent and just about life, general questions. I'm gonna alternate between the two, and let's get started. Number one most asked question, do you still plan on spending half the year in Seattle, and do you miss living there? Yes, we are still planning on going back to Seattle. The plan was to always go back to Seattle. We were never moving here full time. We are actually going back to Seattle, starting the drive back either May 11th or May 12th. So we just have a couple weeks left here in the desert. Honestly, I haven't missed being in Seattle at all. Nothing about it have I missed. When I go back to Seattle, I like it there, but me and Jason both liked being here more than we thought we would. I'm gonna miss it. I can't believe how quickly time has flown. We got here in October, and when we got here, it just felt like we had forever, and all of a sudden, we're leaving so soon. Okay, and with that, I am taking the Airstream up to Seattle, and that's going to be her maiden voyage. I was looking up routes yesterday. I cannot wait to do this road trip and take you guys along with. Sneak peek, there's a really cool RV park in Malibu. There's one in, I think it's called Avila Beach. Wineries you can stay in Paso Robles. I cannot wait for the road trip. Now, before we get into the first real estate question, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, which is Nextiva. Nextiva is a platform, it's AI driven, and it helps you with communication for your business. I find it really helpful for me because it lets me create new phone numbers. I grew up in a part of Seattle with an area code that is not where I now do my business, but I don't want to go get a whole new phone number. So with Nextiva, it's super easy. You can actually create new phone numbers. So I have a totally separate business line for my real estate business, which helps me look more professional for sellers and buyers. If you're looking to connect with more sellers, you want to do cold calling, it is insanely helpful if you have the same area code as where you're calling. It's so easy to do this with Nextiva. It took me all of 5 minutes to set up. Now, I also know through the Nextiva app, if I get a call, I'm able to see it's routed through Nextiva, so I know if it's a real estate related phone call. Last night, I was at dinner with actually one of my real estate agent friends. She got a phone call. She had to answer it, of course, we have to in our business, and I got a phone call, but it was not routed through my Nextiva app, so I knew I didn't have to answer it. It wasn't business related, and it didn't interrupt my dinner. I highly recommend Nextiva to any real estate agent or business owner that is trying to automate and level up their communication this year. You can automate up to 90% of your interactions through all of the different Nextiva features that they have on their platform. Head to my link in the description and you can get up to 50% off of your plan today. On to the first question. What is one thing that you never expected in becoming a real estate agent? I never expected to have a client that actually moved into my house. Last summer, Jason became a real estate agent. He has his license, and he was kind of dabbling in it, right? Like, he didn't know if he wanted to do it that much or not, and I think it's gotten to a point where he really loves the full-time job that he has, so he's not really doing it as much anymore. But when he was dabbling, he was helping me with these one clients that are really nice people, nothing against them, but this transaction became a whole mess. To make what could be a very long story a little bit more short, they were in contract on a new construction home, so it was still being built. It went through so many delays. If you're gonna buy something under construction, you should expect that in the first place, that it's probably not gonna get finished on time. There's gonna be delays. So that happened. Wasn't the end of the world for anyone. For whatever reason, because of that, they decided instead of doing conventional financing, which is when you do at least 5% down, they were going to do FHA financing, which is where you do 3.5% down. For whatever reason, the builder was like, if you're gonna do FHA financing, we're not going to accept your offer unless you use our preferred lender. So they were bullied basically into using the preferred lender. If you're doing an FHA loan, the FHA has to approve of the loan, has to approve of the building. This is where things got weird because the FHA was slow to respond, and it it kept getting delayed weeks and weeks and weeks, and we still hadn't heard back from the FHA. We all thought we were waiting on the FHA. As it turns out, the builder hired, because it was this project of like over 100 townhomes, the builder hired an FHA consultant. So some sort of liaison between the lender and the FHA, whose sole job, submit any documents needed to get it approved by the FHA. The FHA consultant just was not doing their job. They were not responding to emails, and the lender would not give us the FHA consultant's information to contact them, but then he wouldn't contact them either. I don't know why they weren't doing their jobs. Big thing we learned, the FHA will actually respond to you so quick. They're very quick to respond, because this whole time we're like, oh, it must be since it's, you know, government backed, it's taking so long for them to respond. No, they will respond within like a day. You can get them on the phone, you can get their email, they're quite responsive. My clients did not expect this delay to happen, right? Like, who expected this from this lady just holding everything up, and why the lender just wouldn't let us contact her in the first place, and why he didn't contact her. Their lease was up. They had to move. They were living in a hotel for 2 weeks, and they had 3 dogs. And they were just getting to their breaking point where they were like, we don't even want this house anymore. We don't know how we're gonna close on it. If they would have walked away, they wouldn't have been owning a house. They would have lost their earnest money that they're basically their whole down payment. And I was like, no, you guys are sticking this out. Go live at my house. So sure enough, they moved into my house. I think it was for 4 or 5 days. They moved into my house, they were living there. Me and Jason were out of town for a little bit of it. When we got back in town, I actually stayed in a hotel instead. I never want anyone to lose their earnest money. Ever. I'll do whatever it takes. I will let someone move into my house if I have to. They eventually closed on the house. It was all good. They didn't have to lose their earnest money. They live there. They've been living there for almost a year now. Next question. What do you struggle with the most? Probably, if I am being super vulnerable and honest, I think the thing I struggle with the most is drinking. I drink a little more than I wish I did. I want a drink. I don't remember the last time I went to dinner and I didn't order a glass of wine. It's like, it feels sometimes like something I can't do. It's weird because I don't abuse alcohol. I don't get super drunk or anything like that, but I feel like I totally use it as a social clutch, and even like at home. Like I drink a little bit every day, and I wish I could cut that habit a bit. That's why I really like golf and other activities. You would think, I mean, a lot of people when they go golfing, they drink when they golf. And when I first got into it more this year, I definitely was like drinking out on the golf course a lot. But I've actually found it very easy to make it an activity that I don't drink doing, and I don't feel like I need to drink doing that. And it can be a great form of exercise. So I'll go out, play a round of golf right around the time that I would usually want to have a drink. Like now after daylight savings, now that the days are longer, it's a little bit easier, but start at like 5 p.m. and I'll feel really good. I'll feel like I got exercise and I won't have the urge to drink. So that's something that's really helped me, I think. Real estate question. How do you find a brokerage that's the best fit for you? That's a good question. I've been with 3 brokerages now. They were actually all good fits at different times. I think number 1, you need to ask yourself if you are someone that really values community and really needs hands-on help, and in exchange you are going to have to pay for that. You are going to have larger cuts taken out of your commission, but if that's the only way you can be successful, then it's worth doing. There are many agents that are very successful that way. Or you need to ask yourself, are you more of a self-starter? Do you like to be independent? You don't like to go into an office. You want to do things your own way. You just need a brokerage for compliance support and things like that. But you don't want to be giving up a lot of your commission. That's a whole different thing. Number 1, I would ask yourself those 2 things, and that can change over time. When I first got started, I was all on board for like, I wanted the hands-on help. So I was with the brokerage Coldwell Banker Bain. I joined a team, the whole 9 yards, and I would end up walking away with 40% of my commission at the end of the day. And then taxes would take from it too. So I worked super hard. I learned a lot. I do think it's the only way I would have been successful. I think as a brand new agent, to just jump into it alone, I think it does make sense to join a team, get that accountability, get that support, but you're gonna pay up for it. And then there comes a time where you start resenting maybe the amount that's getting taken from you in your commission, because you're like, hey, I'm working super hard. You don't need that support anymore. That's when you might want to consider switching. So that's what I did. This year I switched to a different brokerage. It's called Real Brokerage. It is like the perfect fit for me. The commission splits, it's one of the lowest in the industry. They take up to $12,000. That's the cap. I hit my cap within the first month of being with the brokerage, and now I keep 100% of my commission. And if you're an agent, I would highly consider looking at where you're at and asking yourself, is it worth paying my brokerage the $20,000 a year they get, the $30,000, the $40,000 a year that you're giving them, because you're probably not getting that much value from them, and it might be time to change things around. And if you want to have a conversation about my experience, you can email me. Don't you feel useless because you don't make a global impact with your real estate job? Okay, I know that sounds like a kind of like hateful question, but I wanted to answer it because honestly, no, I don't feel useless. If you have the complex that you need to be doing something that is just changing the world, changing lives, good for you, I guess, but we're all just human. Let's normalize just taking care of ourselves. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's be nice people. Let's be nice to everyone around us, and like, let's not do bad things. But let's not act like we all need to be saving lives, changing the world. Not everyone's built that way. I'm still helping people. I'm helping people find a house. And yes, that's a privileged thing to even be able to afford a house, but it's a hard thing to do. It's one of the most stressful things you go through in life if you are fortunate enough to be able to do it. Of course, they say, you know, marriage, death, divorce, and moving are the most stressful things you can do. So even though it's not the most humble job in the world, certainly not, I'm not a hero, I'm not calling myself that, I'm still helping people in a portion of their life that is exciting for them, but it is stressful. And I don't think we should make people feel bad about just living their life. Top 3 ways to deal with stress. I simply tell myself it's not that important. Will I care about it in 10 years? No, I probably won't. So it's not that important. Number 2, I journal. Sometimes I wake up and I feel anxious or I feel stressed. I might feel really behind, like I didn't get enough work done. I have to write it out then. I just have to write it. And then I'll look back at old schedules, old days of my life, and I will look at some and I'll go, oh my God, that was a day where I thought I was stressed and I thought this deadline was the end of the world, and I did it. I made it through. And it instantly kind of helps a bit. So those are 2 things that really help. I don't really have a third. Did you sell your house in Seattle? No, I have a full-time renter living at my townhouse in Seattle. That house, me and Shelby own it together, so anything we do in the future will be a joint decision. When I got a renter in, it actually was the most rewarding feeling because it was a woman who actually owned a house and she needed help selling her house. I ended up selling her house for her. I was the listing agent. She was so excited to rent my house and she likes living there. And she just wasn't in a place where she wanted to own a house anymore, but she wanted a good rental. She wanted something that felt safe and habitable. And the rental market can be so brutal. There can be so many houses that are not taken care of, not in good shape. To see how excited she was to move into my house and that it was the perfect thing for her in that moment, and it's a place that now she can call home. I'm super proud of that, and I'm super happy that she's happy, and I'll let her live there as long as she wants.